right. Hey, Vikings fans, welcome into another episode of the Skol Hop. I'm Evan.
And I'm Austin.
We're just a couple of dudes from Iowa. We like drinking beer. And we like talking about the Vikings.
Yeah, we do. Skol.
Skol. And Merry Christmas, by the way.
Merry Christmas to you, too.
We've got some gifts here that we're going to exchange in a little bit.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I'm excited.
But before we do that, we got to pay the bills. So we just wanted to let you know that today's episode of the Skol Hop is brought to you by Big Top Ventures. To get the best rates on all-inclusive resorts in Mexico or Jamaica, send an email to bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. That's bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. And you've been on one of these trips before,
Yeah,
right?
I've actually used Big Top Ventures a couple of times, actually. My wife and I went to Mexico a couple years ago. We've got another trip planned this coming June, also through Big Top Ventures. Really easy to work with. I like them a lot. Check them out. I mean, worst you can do is check out their rates, and if it's not what you're looking for, move on to somebody else. But I can promise from experience, you'll be good with their rates.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So thanks, Big Top, for helping us out, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're drinking.
We are drinking. We're Vikings
beer.
fans. We have to drink up.
That was an ill-advised pause there in what I was saying. But the beer we're drinking tonight is Green Tree's. Give me the name one more time. I always mess it up.
I think they've changed their name of this beer. You've said so. You have gifted us tonight with Green Tree Brewing out of LeClaire, Iowa. Their River Bottom X. It used to be called River Bottom Red.
I think it was River Bottom Red when it was first released, but they must have changed it for some reason or another. But it's a 6% red beer, and it's brewed by Green Tree Brewing, which is in LeClaire, Iowa, just a stone's throw away from where we were at. And it's a microbrewery. They don't distribute. You have to go to their brewery location in LeClaire, Iowa to get their beer, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
And it's good stuff.
And I appreciate that you did, because this is really good beer.
Yeah.
I think we said in the TikTok that it's no secret that I gravitate towards the IPAs, but you have really been opening me to the ambers and to the reds. And I'm not disappointed at all by just, being open to that kind of a beer, but especially this one. This one's really good. And I may have to make the quick drive out to their brewery sometime in the near future to try some more of this. Maybe we'll have to have a business meeting out at that brewery.
That would be a good thing. I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. And I would say to anybody out there that's wanting to know how they could get their hands on some of this, like I said, you have to go to their brewery, but they're right off of Interstate 80, and LeClaire is just a tiny little town, but it's loaded with tons of stuff to do. So if you're ever driving between like Des Moines and Chicago, it's a great place to stop. And the American Pickers are there.
Or do they still have a location out there?
Yep. And then there's just a ton of different little shops and stuff. There's a great whiskey distillery right next door to the brewery.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just lots of good stuff. I'm just hyping up LeClaire. It's a good little town.
It's a good spot. And the less we have to talk about the Vikings this week, I mean, I'm okay with that. I know you guys are here to hear about the Vikings. Maybe. I know we have some fans of other teams that listen.
Yeah.
So shout out JK, a Browns fan. But yeah, LeClaire is fun. It's nice. They always do some cool events too around the holidays and stuff, which we're just getting out of. But yeah.
All right. Well, we can distract ourselves a little bit more by exchanging some gifts that we got for each other.
It is a Skol Hop Christmas.
Merry Christmas out there, Skol Hop fans. So I kind of want you to open yours first.
Oh, I was going to say I want you to open yours. You are the gift opener.
Should we rock, paper, scissors?
Let's do it.
All right.
Just best of one.
Best of one.
And 1, 2, 3, shoot.
Yeah.
All right.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
All right.
Ready? Rock, papers.
Oh!
I win.
Okay,
you go
so
first.
does that mean okay. Oh, man.
So I'll probably have to narrate for those of you out there that are just listening. He's shaking it, and he's trying to figure out what it could be.
I'm a present shaker.
Sometimes I know you carry a knife. Do not use a knife.
Okay. Not just sometimes. All the time.
Just forewarning.
Okay.
I don't want you to break anything.
Oh, man. Is it breathing? Do I hear?
No, it's not breathing. It's actually Kirk's Achilles.
Oh, no.
Just kidding.
Too soon, Ev. Too soon.
You're right.
Oh, man.
I didn't tape it super well.
You taped it a lot. Oh, there's another box in here. Whew. All right.
Sorry for all the excess noise.
Yeah, it's an ASMR podcast. I have just opened the wrapping paper of the second box.
So it's a box within a box.
Yep. I swear if there's another box in here, Ev.
Not another box.
All right. Okay.
Did I do a good job wrapping?
Yeah. Did Raven wrap this?
No, I wrapped it myself.
Interesting. I wrapped your gift.
If it was wrapped by my wife, it would have been way better.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think I'm getting closer. So I've just opened up the second box, and it is wrapped in saran wrap.
I've seen far too many videos on TikTok this year of people giving gifts that are ridiculously hard to open. So I was a little inspired.
Yeah.
But you're almost there.
Did you have a few of those river red river bottom X's?
No, I was saving it for this.
This is going to sound great in your guys' ears.
I did waste some saran wrap.
Yeah, this is...
So we're down to the saran wrap layer, and under that there's more wrapping paper.
Yep.
But you're almost there.
I think I'm getting close.
You're getting real close.
It feels like a clothing item.
It could be.
Oh, I can see just regular paper, but I think there's another couple of wraparounds of saran wrap. This has got to be terrible to listen to.
I'll try to edit that out later. Or at least put it on some effects to make it less obnoxious.
Yep. Maybe it'll be easier to watch. So we are on YouTube. You can listen and watch to the whole episode on YouTube.
Hey, you made it.
Made it to
Almost.
the initial wrapping paper. You know, most people would have just handed somebody this.
That would have been too easy. And I'm a teacher on winter break, so
Oh, yeah.
I had
You got all the time in the
a
world.
little bit of time on my hands here.
Oh, all right. It is a cloth item, at least I can see. It's purple. There's more tape. How many rolls of tape did you use on this?
Like one
this
whole
gift?
roll.
An entire roll. I would have guessed more. Oh, there's 2 cloth items in here.
There's
Oh,
actually
man.
3.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. It is wonderful. This is amazing. So for the world to see.
First ever Skol Hop t-shirts.
Skol Hop t-shirts. This is awesome.
So there are 3 shirts in there. Mm-hmm. Because you never know how t-shirts are going to fit when you order them online. So you'll have to find one that fits you. I'll find one that fits me. And then we have one that we can give away to somebody out there listening to us.
Look at you, Ev. We'll put you on movies. Just say merchandising. Yep. We got the spectrum of sizes. And I think the spectrum will work out perfectly. So we'll have to figure out how we're going to give away that 3rd shirt.
Yeah. So if you're out there listening, I'll let you finish. Hang on.
Oh, yeah. Just kidding.
Yeah. You should hit us up. We always promo our social media sites and our email and stuff at the end of the episode. So send us a message somewhere, anywhere. And who knows? Maybe we can send you a shirt.
Yeah. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see these wonderful shirts. I'm very excited about this stuff. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is awesome. It's a purple shirt with our Skol Hop logo. It's been on episode art. I think it's our profile picture on all the socials. So
yep.
That's nice and big and
us.
bold.
That's us. Yeah, we've got this flag here too. That was kind of part of the same order.
Nice.
So we're actually on TeePublic. So if you go to TeePublic, that's where these shirts and this, they call it a tapestry, this flag come from. So you can check us out on TeePublic, the Skol Hop. I would also like to make a quick plug for my wife's TeePublic store. It's A&J Creative. And she's made some pretty cool stuff, non-Viking stuff, but then she's also made some really cool like ladies Vikings designs.
Nice.
So if you're out there and you're a Vikings fan and you've got a lady in your life that could benefit from some really classy looking Vikings gear, head on over to A&J Creative on TeePublic, and you can check out her designs.
I might have to do that because I do have some ladies in my life
Yeah.
that I have told are Vikings fans. So.
And they've been bribed with ice cream.
Yeah.
No ice cream this week.
No dice, no ice cream at all.
But we're not going to talk about that yet.
Yeah, we're going to prolong the inevitable a little
Push
bit
that
longer.
off.
And another gift.
All right.
Evan, it's your turn. Your wrapping was way more intricate than mine. I put it in a bag.
The problem I have with this is it's green. And the moment you walked into my house, we talked about it.
Well, yeah, I didn't really realize the color of it until I walked into your house and showed you that I had a gift. And I was like, dang it, it's in a green.
It's not really Packer green.
No.
It's okay. It's more like the main green is more like a light green. We'll call it football grass.
Sure.
Green.
Yeah, it's got
Football
Christmas
field.
trees on it. Somebody who gave me or my family members a gift this year may recognize this bag. It probably came from that. We like to reuse bags.
It feels round.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Kind of. Or oddly shaped.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see. Ooh. Or maybe is it multiple pieces, or is it just
there
one?
is one item in
One
that
item.
bag, yeah. You should quickly be able to realize what it is.
I do know what this is. No way.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
All right, so I'll do the narration. Evan has just opened a custom Skol Hop mini helmet. It is a Riddle mini helmet, and it has on both sides the Norseman Skol Hop logo. So it doesn't say the Skol Hop above it. I kind of tinkered around with that. I should say this is all thanks to my wonderful, beautiful, amazing wife, who will never hear these words ever. She was the one who was the mastermind behind putting the logo on the helmet.
That is cool. And that's going to go like smack dab in the middle of this. And here's what's cool about this. I had a little extra money from Christmas sitting around. So I was perusing on Amazon, and I actually bought a Vikings mini helmet.
Oh, nice.
So we can do like two helmets like right next to each other. I think that'll be really cool. It's like a 70s era with the gray
Oh, that's cool.
face mask. It was on Amazon. It was like $38 or something like that.
They're cool.
So, yeah, it should be here later this week.
Sweet.
So
We'll have to
hopefully on
show
the
that
next
off.
episode. Yeah, if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube or wherever you're watching us, you'll have to keep an eye out for some of the changes we're making to the old Skol Hop set here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is awesome, though. This is super cool.
Merry Christmas. I do have one just like it. We kind of tinkered around with the size of the logos. So the sizing of mine is a little bit different, but outside of that, it's identical.
That's cool. I'm going to put it on the shelf right now.
Nice. He's going to find a good spot. And it'll probably change up once you get that old school helmet. There you go. Right in Victor's lap. And then I'll just take my beer back. Sorry, Victor, you don't get a beer tonight.
No beers for Victor, but that just looks cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That looks great. Well, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Those were good
That was
gifts.
fun. Yeah, they were. It's cool.
All right.
I'm tempted to put my shirt on right now, but I think that would ruin the flow of the episode here.
We'll try them on afterwards.
Sounds good.
Well, we have to. This is what we do. We always talk about the game. We've made a commitment to all of our many fans out there that rely on us for all of the hot takes when it comes to the Vikings. So we got to recap the loss to the Lions, 24-30 on Christmas Eve. It was a whiteout game. A lot of anticipation for this game.
And a lot of frustration.
A lot of frustration, and it ended in heartbreak. It wasn't a blowout. It was close, and it was within the Vikings' grasp. Even at the end, the Vikings got the ball with 2 minutes left, no timeouts. They moved the ball down the field, and Mullins threw his fourth interception of the game with like 40-something seconds left on the clock. He was trying to hit JJ and just underthrew him.
Yeah,
I
and
think.
the defender read it perfectly. I mean,
And the ball was kind of a duck.
Yep.
So just everything that could go wrong did go wrong in this game. Not only that game-sealing interception, but the injuries were just piling up. Mullins threw 4 picks.
Yeah. I have 2 philosophies when it comes to my opinions on football and decisions I would make. If I were ever, nobody should ever put me in charge in a decision-making capacity for a football team, but if I ever were, I've said my first one on the podcast already, and it involves running backs. Don't pay running backs. They put on too many miles. They get hit too much. Very rarely are running backs worth the money they get paid if it's a big contract, because they just get injured. So that's my first one, and we can fight about that in the comments if you want. My second one is never give a guy the chance to throw a 4th interception. Never. Ever, ever, ever. I don't care who it is or what kind of day he's having. If he throws a 3rd interception, you pull him. The next guy's up. Because for whatever reason, the defense has figured something out, or his confidence is completely gone. I don't care who it is. I don't care if he's thrown for 500 yards already that game. If he throws a 3rd pick, sit him down.
I'd like to point out 2 things. Number 1, just to reiterate what you've said, you texted me because we were watching in separate places because it was Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, you texted me after Mullins threw his 3rd and said exactly that. Don't ever give a guy the opportunity to throw 4 picks, take him out.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the Vikings didn't. When he threw that game-sealing 4th interception, you screenshotted your text and sent it back to me and said, see? And I agreed with you wholeheartedly. Yeah. The one thing that I would like to say, just playing devil's advocate a little bit,
mm-hmm.
is I'm pretty sure Kirk Cousins threw 4 interceptions in one of the first 3 games of the season.
And how did the first 3 games of the season go?
We lost. But, I mean, I guess the point I'm trying to make is we've talked about the length of the leash that you give these guys. Mm-hmm. Kirk Cousins, I think, has to have a much longer leash than a Nick Mullins. And if he throws 4, you just kind of got to keep rolling with it unless he's hurt.
Yeah. But, I mean, we saw it in the 49ers-Ravens game last night. I don't know if you watched it much.
Yeah, Brock Purdy got pulled.
Well, it was, I think the motivation of him coming out of the game was absolutely for injury. He needed to come out. I don't know what it was, if he was in the concussion protocol. He had to come out. He got hit and he had to come out. And I think that drive ended with Sam Darnold leading the Niners to a touchdown. And at that point, the game seemed to open up. This is now a Niners podcast, I guess, for the next minute. And then, the offense was on the sideline. The TV announcers were saying, like, who's going to go in? And they showed Shanahan talking to Brock Purdy. Shanahan had his mouth covered with his play call, but Purdy, he was being told some disappointing news. You could tell by his face. And it, for a minute, seemed like the Sam Darnold switch was going to work in that game. So even if you are someone who this year, before that game, Brock Purdy, he was in the MVP conversation. I think now he's kind of inched his way out of that conversation after last night. But yeah, his leash got to the end of it. And ultimately, I think, like I said, it was a decision motivated by injury, but then it was easy to say, no, we're going to stick with the hot hand at the moment, which was Sam Darnold. It is Sam, right?
Yeah.
Sam, yeah. But yeah, like you said, Kirk had a way longer leash. And I'm not sure. I don't know enough. You're probably right. Kirk may have thrown 4 picks
I think
in a game earlier on this season. I don't remember specifically, but yeah, you can't let someone get the chance to throw a 4th pick. I don't care if it's Tom Brady and he's already got 10 passing touchdowns that game. Like, if you throw 3, be done. Sit down that day. Try again the next one.
I don't disagree with you. I think there are circumstances, there are players where you look past those things. And yeah, the Vikings were losing in the game that Kirk threw 4 picks. I can't remember which. I feel like it was one of the first 3 because we dropped the first 3.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it probably was.
So it would have been the Bucks, the Eagles, or who did we play week 3? I don't remember.
Week 1 was the Bucks.
And then we played.
Dead air is great. I'm not getting this right. Yeah, I don't remember. It was probably one of those first few games.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter too much now, but I guess the point I'm trying to make, again, is I think it's all determined by the player. Nick Mullins is not a guy that you give that long of a leash to, and I absolutely 100% agree with you. He should have come out after that 3rd pick. Truthfully, like, he probably could have come out after the 2nd pick because he threw 2 horrendous picks the previous game, and the 1 pick was kind of historically bad.
Oh yeah,
like it'll go down as like a butt fumble worthy interception almost. But yeah, he's a career backup. He's proven that. He's got this gunslinger mentality, and it hasn't really worked out for him, other than I think late in the game when he was slinging it to JJ, and if you just put it within 5 yards of JJ, he's going to go out and get it.
Oh yeah, for the most part, unless somebody jumps in front of him because it's a terrible decision to throw it to him at that point,
or they spear him in the side and he has to go to the hospital.
Oh yeah,
because Mullins threw him that ball too, didn't he?
And no, that was Josh Dobbs.
That was Dobbs that threw it to him. Well, regardless, I think both of those guys have proven that they're career backups. They're maybe going to get another opportunity somewhere. Yeah. Maybe.
Well, so I think a guy like Mullins, he is a good player as a second string quarterback. He can come in and be sufficient. It's just he has proven in his short tenure with the Vikings and the rest of his career, he's not good when he's QB1. When he's the guy, when it's all week, he's getting all the reps, when he is the one that has to lead the team and know everything and, be best friends with the coach. And like, he's not great in that role. Where he has been successful is when it's like, oh crap, Kirk's out, or, oh darn, QB1 just went down. Nick, warm up, like get in there out of nowhere. You could go 8 weeks without touching the field. And then boom, you have to play most of a game. So he's proven he's good at that. And that is a legitimate position in the NFL. Not everyone is destined to be, their position number one. I think I'd say the same about Alex Madison. He's always been good as the Thunder, as the change of pace to the RB1. I mean, in his case, it's been Dalvin Cook to, spell out the RB1 when you need to. That's why Madison looked good and why it didn't seem so awful to, sign him and go into the season with him as RB1, because he's always looked decent. And even in a few spot starts, he always looked okay. But for whatever reason, this season, he has proven that he's not good as the guy, the one to get the starter reps. And I don't know why that's different, but there's obviously something with that, at least with the quarterback position and obviously the running back position too. But yeah. And I did look it up, and this is not to shove it in your face at all because you made some good points. But Kirk, the most interceptions he's thrown in a game this season is 2.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. ESPN's not easy to look at right now. It's probably just a me thing. He may have had a game where he had a couple of fumbles and a couple interceptions.
That could be.
That I can't really see, but yeah, interception wise, he's thrown 2 picks in, I guess, just one game, and that was against Carolina. And oddly enough, that's the one where we said that was his poorest game at that point, and that was the
first win of the season. Yeah.
I just think I've never been an NFL quarterback. I've never been a quarterback. Most I can say is playing 500 in the backyard. So I can't really say from experience. I just got to think, after throwing 3 picks, like there's just got to be some kind of a mentality of like, what's wrong with me? Especially if you're not seeing things. Like obviously they picked it off because I missed this read. But if you're not seeing that, like, it's got to be so frustrating. And then you have to play differently, right? Like, you have to go out on the field and almost be, like, mad and make even poorer decisions, which for a guy like Nick Mullins, he's a gunslinger. So he's already making...
I think we saw that happen. And it almost seemed like the Lions secondary was just kind of messing with him. Yeah. Like, there was that one interception. I can't remember which one it was. But our favorite commentator, what's his name?
Vilma. Get that guy off TV.
Jonathan Vilma.
Good grief.
He does have a smart defensive mind, and he pointed out that the Lions, I don't know if it was a corner or a safety, but one of the guys in the Lions secondary that was covering the route just kind of toyed with Mullins and then jumped in at the last second and picked him off.
Yeah.
And
he baited him. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's, if you're the Lions, that's your defensive game plan. Like, hey, we've got this backup guy in. He's a gunslinger. Let's force him to make some terrible mistakes.
Yeah.
The Bengals did it last week. Let's make it hard for him this week. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did all day long, to the tune of 4 interceptions, which really, really stings. We've spent a lot of time talking about that. But there were some other things in the game. The running game was quietly horrific.
Totally gone.
17 yards on the ground for Ty Chandler.
Completely gone. I think, did Madison end up with positive yards? Because he, at one point, was 2 rushes for -1 yard. His first rush, I texted you because it was a 1 rush for -2 yards. I was like, oh, look, another great run by Alex Madison.
Yep.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. And the defense didn't look great. The first drive, I thought they looked really shaky, and gave up a touchdown, which was the first opening drive touchdown they'd given up all season. Yeah. And the Lions just looked like pros. I mean, they just walked down the field and put it in the end zone for 6, and it was easy.
And to kind of jump in for a second, to be clear, I think we can both say this. The Lions are a good team.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
They're not the greatest show on turf, but I mean, they're good. And we've been saying that for a while. It's clear to see. They're not like a phony team this year. They're going to do something. They might win a couple of games in the playoffs. Like, I'm not saying, the Lions are winning Super Bowl, but like, they're good. So it's not surprising that this game ended up the way it did. It's very frustrating.
I was messing around with that playoff machine again. I don't think I'll make another video, but we can talk about how the Vikings get into the playoffs, because I think that's a worthy conversation for later on. But the Lions, the Lions still have a shot at the number 1 seed. I mean, if San Francisco and Philly lose, which they have been,
they're not looking like the Giants. They're not the New York Football Giants, but the like juggernauts that they started off the season looking like.
Yeah, they don't look amazing lately. They've shown their flaws, and injury has kind of hit both teams a little bit.
Oh yeah, the Niners were down to literally not having another offensive lineman to go in last night if somebody else went down.
Wow.
Like, it would have been a tight end or something if somebody else went down.
Yeah, the injuries have hit the league hard this year.
Man. To high-profile names, too. Like, there's always injuries, but, like, usually it's like, somebody like Cam Akers gets hurt. He's a big name, but, like, not across the league. Everybody knows Kirk Cousins' name. That's a big injury. Everybody knows Aaron Rodgers' name. Like, that started off the whole season.
Yeah, he made it 2 plays into the year.
Yeah. Crazy. But, yeah.
Anyways, and the Vikings were not immune to the injury bug either. TJ Hawkinson out pretty much indefinitely with ACL and MCL.
Yeah,
right?
That could be... That's going to be an interesting storyline to keep tabs on throughout this offseason. Because already my guess is he starts training camp on the physically unable to perform list. Maybe he misses. Like, he very well could miss a few games to start the season.
Could start the game on IR.
Yeah.
Or start the season on IR.
If you think about Adrian Peterson, his 2,000-yard season, that was the season immediately after he ended by tearing his ACL. That was the whole magic of the story, is like, this guy is a monster. He's a physical freak, and nobody could have ever done this because he just tore his ACL and came back, and now he just did what only one other person has ever done, and that's rush for that many yards in a season. And TJ Hawkinson tore his ACL on the same day 12 years later. So if it was that crazy for this Adrian Peterson, who everybody has always said is a physical freak and just a magical nightmare, you can't expect TJ Hawkinson to be back right away. I'm expecting him to miss a couple of games to start the year next year.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. But he wasn't the only one that went down.
No, yeah, it was crazy.
Jordan Addison, DJ Wanham, Mekhi Blackman came in with some like shoulder something strap. I don't know. I don't know what his injury even was coming into the game, but the secondary has already struggled with injury. So to see him go down was tough. It was just a really crummy game for the Vikings injury-wise.
Did I see Addison's injury is going to not be as crazy? I guess I didn't.
I haven't really heard anything about Addison. I think Hawkinson and Wanham are both out.
Oh, yeah. Wanham tore his quad or something like that. Like,
they're done.
Yeah, he may never be the same guy again, because that's no small injury to have. Yeah. And, I mean, to that point, Hawkinson, too. Like, yeah, the ACL is not the career ender it used to be, but that's still not a great injury to get. Like,
right.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting to see how these last 2 games of the season go too, with a really depleted roster in general.
And just probably a sense of, I don't want to be over dramatic, but like a sense of the air out of the stadium, like despair was the first word I could think of. Like, what do you do now? Like, how much can one locker room take? And how many speeches does KOC need to have to like keep these guys motivated, especially if you keep losing? And now, as we sit and record on December 26th, we have no idea who the starting quarterback is going to be in this weekend against the Packers. KOC said they're going to explore all options. To me, that includes exploring the idea of putting Dobbs back out there, which that seems crazy. I don't know. I don't. Mullins just seemed like he's not the right answer. Jaron Hall, we've seen almost 2 full drives of him. I don't have an opinion on that. I don't know who's going to play.
I think you put Hall in if your season's lost. I think if you go to Detroit and it's pretty certain that you're not going to make the playoffs, if the Vikings have dropped this coming game against the Packers at home on New Year's Eve, and I think Seattle and the Rams also win, and that kind of pushes the Vikings down in the playoff hopes a little bit, which again, we can talk about that in a minute. But I think if you get to that Week 18 game at Detroit, and it's just like you have a 3% chance to make the playoffs or something like that, you need both the Rams and the Seahawks to lose, and you have to win. You put Hall in and give him the keys. Show me what you learned this season, and let's see what happens. To some extent, he's maybe interviewing for a backup job with the Vikings next year, or a backup job somewhere else next year. Who knows?
Regardless, I don't think the Vikings have a healthy quarterback at this moment that will be a starter potential next year. I think next year your starter is either Kirk Cousins, if you somehow work out a good deal, which I don't know how I'd feel about that, just age and injury wise, or it's going to be a rookie or a free agent. Like, it's not going to be one of the 3 guys currently in the loop for the starting job this coming week.
Do you think, I think we should talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain kind of like went 3 steps ahead, so I have to back up a little bit. So re-signing Kirk, right? If we talk about that, probably going to cost a lot, and probably going to mean letting other guys walk that those are going to be hard decisions to make. And the frustrating part about the NFL right now is you can't necessarily have your cake and eat it too, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to make those tough decisions when it comes to the salary cap. But I've heard, I don't know concretely what this means, but I've heard the salary cap is on its way up.
It always rises every year. I think there was one year, maybe like 2021, due to COVID or whatever, that was like the first year it didn't rise, but it always goes up a little bit, which they know. I'm sure whoever the money people are with every team, they know that they can expect a certain percentage of increased cap dollars, and they probably plan out their contracts that way. But yeah, it always goes up a little bit. It's never anything that's like, oh, they just doubled the salary cap. Like, I think it's usually like 5 to 10% more.
Sure. So I guess with all of that, if you're Kwesi,
thank goodness I'm not. All Vikings fans should be very glad that I'm not the
that's
GM.
the beauty of what we get to do.
Yeah.
We get to just sit here and speculate and kind of pretend like we are in his chair for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I can take a turn as well. But if you're in his chair, what do you do next season?
I mean, it depends on what you think you can do. If you think this team can continue that competitive rebuild and be someone to kind of hit reset and still be a contender, then I think all options are on the table. If your guy is Kirk, if you're like, nope, we are set everywhere else, we can make the money work for 1, 2, 3 more years, Kirk's our guy, we're running, we're going for this championship with Kirk, then if that's their mentality, they have to do it, right? Like, they have to jump in and go for that full force. If they're thinking Kirk's not their guy, like, he's pretty old, which, 36, 37 is pretty old as a quarterback. I think he's older. I think he's 36 right now, 35 really? Or 36 right now.
Okay. I thought he was closer to Flacco's age for some reason, but
no. He was,
because Flacco's 38, right?
Oh, I don't know. That I would have guessed older for Flacco, but I'm not a Flacco expert. Flacco, just to say his name one more time, or Flacco, depending on how you say it.
Yeah, who was calling him Flacco? Who was the commentator?
I don't know.
Somebody was calling him that. I don't know.
But yeah, I think if their mentality is, yeah, Kirk's not our guy, but we're still right there. We're still should be competing for the NFC North. This roster is really good outside of injury. The coaching's really good outside of the weird, terrible calls sometimes. If that's your mindset, then you try to jump all in with a proven commodity. Herbert from San Diego, not San Diego for his whole career, I guess, from LA, maybe he's an option. You never know. I mean, you never know who's going to, shoot, Baker Mayfield's had a little bit of a resurgence in Tampa Bay this year, and I don't know what his contract looks like if he's even going to be a free agent. You
wanted Bailey Zappi from New England.
No. Yeah, for a little bit. For that
like one game.
He got that one game. But, I mean, if your mindset is the quarterback, I feel like the Vikings have always been a quarterback away. And if that's your mindset and you are not confident in Cousins, or Cousins is just way outside of your price range, then you got to jump in and get a guy like Herbert or somebody who's there. And if that's not your mindset either way, apparently there's some decent quarterbacks coming up in the draft. And a phrase I like to hear all the time, I think Eric Thompson says it on Twitter all the time, go get your guys. Who cares what the media thinks, what the fans think? If your guy is Pat Mahomes, because when the Chiefs drafted Pat Mahomes, a lot of Chiefs fans were like, what the heck? This guy from Texas A&M, like he's nothing. Like they just wasted a pick. What are they saying now? They're so glad that he's gifted 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 wins. I mean, a lot of people were upset as Bills fans when they drafted Josh Allen. Famously not Jared Allen.
Yeah, that was a bad mix-up last week.
But like, and even he's had some ups and downs, but I think most Bills fans are saying, oh man, yeah, thank goodness they got Josh Allen. I don't know. So if the Vikings have their guy, and I don't even know, I know Caleb Williams and the kid from LSU, and I think don't the Bo Nix from
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden, is that the LSU kid?
I think that's the LSU kid.
I don't know the names enough, but I know there's some people out there. I mean, even JJ McCarthy with Michigan for our friend Forrest. If the Vikings have nailed down and they think, hey, JJ McCarthy is the guy, he's going to fit so perfectly, then they have to do everything to get him, or whoever that is. That's why me not answering this question in a 3-minute answer is why the Vikings are so glad that I'm not the GM.
You are every armchair quarterback and every keyboard Cowboys like worst enemy, because you just circled around it for like 3 minutes and never gave a direct answer. But that's okay. I respect what you've said, and I think nothing you've said is wrong. And yeah, we're not in their shoes, but I think every fan is entitled to their opinion.
Oh, that's why. I mean, we're fans. We put so much desire into this, so much of our life, our fanhood into this. And
you also pointed out it's so complex because it's not just about one player, right? It's not just about, like you mentioned, maybe the Vikings are just one quarterback away, but we had the quarterback last year and our defense was terrible.
Yeah.
We're the worst defense in the league, and now we started this year with arguably a terrible team all the way around, and somehow got it figured out midway through the season and won 5 games in a row, despite losing our quarterback and
at the time the best player in the league and
JJ. So anyways, I'll give you one hot take.
I'll take it
of mine. I want you to give me a hot take too.
Okay.
Without getting into the weeds of all the complexities of who has to stay and who has to go, and is there going to be enough space in the salary cap, and blah blah blah. I think you bring back Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
That's my hot take.
I don't think that's the controversial take.
It's not, and it's probably a little bit conservative, actually. But Kirk himself is conservative. I'm a fairly conservative guy, but I think all of those things aside, I think he's proven that he can play at a high level, and he was already silencing the doubters, and even now, going into week 17, he still sits atop quarterbacks in terms of a lot of statistical things, after not having played since week 5 or whatever it was.
I think it was like week 8.
Whatever.
Because he played most of the Packer game.
That's right. Whenever he went down. But like he played half the season, basically, and then went down. And he's still up there in terms of stats for quarterbacks. And I think this was the year that he really started to silence those doubters. I think he deserves, at minimum, a 1-year extension. I don't even know what the going rate is for a quarterback right now.
I think a 1 year signing him for 1 year is probably going to look somewhere around 35 to 40 million. Okay. And that may be a conservative number. Sorry, keep going.
Well, I'm basically done. I think he played well enough to bring him back for a year. Yep, he's getting older. Yep, the Achilles injuries really suck, but you know that he's going to attack rehab. You know he already has attacked rehab. And we know that he wants to come back and play. He's not going to retire. And he's been very vocal about wanting to come back and play for the Vikings. If you have a guy who plays well, who is a leader, a captain, on and off the field. I mean, even JJ said it in his post-game interview. He said it in a way that didn't really throw Mullins under the bus, but made it very clear who he would like to see under center and who he wants to be catching passes from. And that's Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
So he's going to get money too. We know that. He's going to get a new contract. JJ is, that is.
Yeah.
So I think you prioritize those two and see what happens.
Yeah. All right. So you asked for a hot take. I appreciate yours. And I, as a fan, wouldn't be mad if what you just said happened. If they got Kirk back for 35, 40 million for 1 year, he'd probably sign like a 2-year deal or something like that. He's very savvy. There's no question about that. Dustin Baker outlined that a few episodes ago. He's going to get his money, and good for him. I'll say it for the 1,000th time. Every player should try to get every dime they can while they're playing. That includes Kirk. He would be good. He's a good quarterback. And if he came back from that injury, the Vikings are going to do their homework. They're not going to be like, hey, Kirk, are you healed? And just take his word for it. Like they're going to make sure he's good before signing him. You're going to have some competition because unless they re-sign him before the end of the season, I mean, he's going to be a free agent. Like the way his contract is worked out, they can't franchise him even if they wanted to. They would have to re-sign him before his deal ends, and it voids out before the official end of the season or whenever the quote-unquote league year ends. Like
I think it's March 31st.
Yeah, he will have, and I think it's like March 10th that his contract is void. And I don't know why they do that, probably for like cap reasons in future years or whatever. But he will be a free agent, even if only for 5 minutes. So you could have competition to sign him, which only means more money. So if he is the starting quarterback for the Vikings next year, I'm okay. I'm happy. That just means they better go all in. Like the future throw it out the window. It's all about that season, because if you sign Kirk Cousins, guys like Dalton Reisner, you're not going to be able to re-sign. Guys like,
unless they're willing to take a pay cut.
Yeah, but it would have to be something like that. Like you're just not going to have enough money to go around for the future. You're going to have something like the Saints did, where I think even now Drew Brees is one of the highest paid Saints. Or he had some weird crazy contract thing just to make it work for whatever year they had to make it work for. So it's just going to be an all or nothing next year if they do re-sign Kirk. And I'm not an expert. Maybe I'm completely missing some flaw where it's like, yeah, it'll all work out. But I think you have to be able to sign JJ to a long-term contract. You have to be able to sign Christian Darrisaw to a long-term contract. And in those two names, you're probably talking $200 million. Probably something like at least $80 million guaranteed. And those are probably conservative numbers in their total next contracts. Yeah, it's going to be tough, and it could equate for some dark years. But if 2024 is the year, if it's like the Rams did a couple of years ago where they just balled out and went all out and they got a Super Bowl, I'm not going to complain at all. They could not win a game for 10 years if they get a Super Bowl. Like I'm okay. Who cares? Remember 2024? Like that's what I'll be saying. But yeah, I think so. My hot take would be to get a rookie. Just thinking about
move on from Kirk.
Yeah, just thinking about the numbers. I like Kirk. He is a good quarterback. I've been a Kirk fan for a while. There was a weird moment, probably like 2020, when I was like, this guy's not doing anything. He's making terrible decisions. He's not great. But then soon after I was convinced he wasn't the guy, he convinced everybody that he is the guy. And this year he was convincing the entire world, not just Vikings fans. So I'm happy if he's the quarterback, because he was doing good things. He was fun to root for. I don't know. I think he'd be somebody that I would enjoy spending time with, just because, like you said, he's a conservative guy. We're conservative guys. I just think we would get along. I'm not saying I think I'd be Kirk Cousins' friend, but he just seems like a good guy, and he's a good quarterback, so I'd love it. But I think for the future of the franchise, it probably makes the most sense to move on and draft a quarterback number one. Even if you have to trade multiple picks to get to a high first-round pick, if you don't F it up the next couple of games and somehow get the 5th overall pick or something like that. But yeah, I think it probably should be a rookie so that you can keep your guys.
We are on opposite sides of
But the thing is,
it's interesting.
I'd be so happy if it was Kirk again. I'd be concerned after the announcement, like, is he healed? Is it going to be a rough first part of the season until he finally gets his feet under him? He's not a mobile guy totally, so him not being able to run 100 miles an hour isn't a huge deal. But yeah, there's a lot of question marks.
What'll be really interesting will be watching Aaron Rodgers. I don't think we'll see Aaron Rodgers play in a game this year.
No.
The Jets are already mathematically eliminated, and they're not going to put him in. But
didn't he already have a quote like a week or two ago? Like, yeah, if we were closer,
probably he just tells everything to Pat McAfee, but he's always also super guarded at the same time. Who knows what those guys talk about when the cameras aren't rolling.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I think not in game, but like, he's going to post some sort of like workout video or something with him, doing a 3-step drop, planting his foot, and just throwing an absolute dime to somebody.
If he posted a video of him doing a box jump, that would be the next 3 days of ESPN coverage. Like,
yeah, for sure. I'm sure he's already done it.
Yeah.
And there's just no footage of it, or he's been very careful with how he wants to release that footage to maximize his screen time, and the fact that sports media is just infatuated with him. But anyways, I think it will be interesting to see how he progresses, because he's just a little bit ahead of Kirk in terms of the injury and the recovery. And that Aaron Rodgers is going to do everything that he can to get back on the field.
Oh yeah,
next year. I mean, I think if push came to shove, they'd put him in tomorrow.
Yeah, but that's not. I mean, the Jets would have to be.
They're not
undefeated.
Yeah, they're not in a position to do that, so it doesn't make any sense. But if like the playoffs were on the line, shoot, you might see him in there.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it wasn't for a full game, even if it was for a couple of drives just to see if he can eke out a touchdown or two, give him the edge, and then hand it over to Zach Wilson or whoever else, see what happens. But I think it'll be interesting to see how he progresses in the offseason and to see what comes out from his recovery, because we will see something, I'm sure.
From Rodgers, yeah.
Yes. And that may give us a little bit of insight into what we could expect from Kirk Cousins and how he'll progress and how he'll recover. And I would expect Kirk to attack his recovery with a similar tenacity, with a similar drive of, yes, I want to get back to the field. I want to play. Well, that's the guy. That's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah. Just like we've said, he's like pretty savvy and kind of ruthless in his contract negotiations. He's probably, to your point, going to take that same ruthlessness to his rehab. I mean, this is the biggest injury he's ever had. I don't know about like high school or anything, but like he's never had something this crazy. The biggest other detriment to his career was when he wasn't the starter. Like he's always been attacking everything this is Kirk, to get back and to get on the field. So I fully expect Kirk to be an NFL quarterback. He will play more football. Like this isn't it. It's just, will it be for the Vikings? He did mention, to kind of bring it back to him comparing to Aaron Rodgers, he was on Adam Schefter's podcast a week or two ago, within the last couple of weeks. And Kirk said, Schefter asked him something like, yeah, hey, Rodgers is starting to peak up a little bit, thinking he might play this season. What about you? Do you think that could be a possibility for you to come back this season? And Kirk said something like, yeah, my wife thinks I could be back. She's holding out hope. But like, I mean, realistically, he said the earliest I think I could come back would be around the time of the Super Bowl. And he even joked like, if the Vikings make it to the Super Bowl, they probably don't want me to get in there because they've been playing so good in theory to make it that far. So why mess with a good thing? But then he said, like, realistically, Aaron's injury was about 8 weeks before mine. So anything Aaron does is about 8 weeks ahead of where I could be doing those similar things. So I think you're onto something. If we see, beginning of March, Aaron Rodgers posts that video where he throws a dime in some practice field setting to some unnamed wide receiver, you could think maybe beginning of May, quote unquote, Kirk Cousins could kind of be doing similar things just based off the timeline. So I don't know. He theoretically could be back. I just know the Achilles is such a big injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see what plays out. And honestly, like, I agree with what you've said too, coming all the way back to our original takes. I think as a fan, I wouldn't be disappointed if we went out and got a guy in the first round of the draft to replace Kirk.
Yeah.
I mean, if J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams or whoever is available when it's the Vikings' turn to make their first round pick, I wouldn't be disappointed in that. I will be sad a little bit if Kirk leaves.
Yeah.
If they let him go, that will be a sad moment as a Vikings fan, because he's played really well, and not just that, but he's just a good guy. And you said it earlier, he's just easy to root for. That he's not the drama queen off the field that some of these other guys are. I mean, even just watching the Chiefs and watching Patrick Mahomes whine about everything.
Oh my gosh. Well, Pat Mahomes' reaction to that offsides penalty they got a couple of weeks ago, he didn't react like, oh yeah, I guess, yeah, technically our guy was offsides.
He didn't even have the sportsmanship to like tell Josh Allen at the end of the game, like, hey man, you played great.
Yeah.
Pat him on the back, like, worst effing call I've ever seen. It's the end the game on a offsides or like,
yeah.
Like, come on, man.
If you break the rules, you should be penalized.
Yeah.
Just like the Lions, against the Vikings, they had a guy step out of the field, and then he ended up being the first guy to touch the ball. So they called it, an incomplete pass because he was out of the field and didn't establish himself. But it should have been a penalty for illegal touching, because he should not have been the first one to touch the ball. I'm not a ref, but that seemed a little weird. We could have a whole nother hour-long podcast on the
We've been
officiating.
talking for almost an hour already, and we could just sit here and talk about how awful the officiating was. That was the same crew from the helmet off game.
Was it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. Man. It was the same crew what team was that? What guy was that took his helmet off?
The Chiefs.
Was it the Chiefs?
Yeah, they said, put your helmet back on.
Yeah, that's a penalty. That's a personal foul, 15-yard penalty. And they just told him to put his helmet back on. Same crew that really, really had an impact on the Lions and the Vikings.
Yeah, I saw someone post the meme where it's the cartoon guy like pointing at himself in the mirror, and the meme was like, now you go out there and make this about yourself. Talking about the refs.
Man.
I hate complaining about the refs, because I do think 99% of the times the refs see things and it's like, how did you even see that? And they usually make the right call, but man, it just felt personal against the Vikings on Sunday or Saturday.
It did seem like there were a lot of calls that went against the Vikings and went in the Lions' favor, which is really unfortunate. So so a quick update on the playoff outlook.
Oh yeah.
So I pulled this from Dustin Baker. I think this is actually slightly different, but as of right now, when Dustin tweeted this, he said the Vikings playoff chances were 27%. I think that was before the Monday night games that happened or the Monday games, because they were they weren't just Monday night. I think it's down to like 14%.
Jeez.
As of right now, recording this episode on Tuesday, December 26th. Mm-hmm. So fairly low, but
about as low as it's been all season.
Yeah, but you win the next two games, regardless of what else happens, 96%.
Yeah, but
which
that's a big if.
Sounds easy, but the Lions have already beaten you once, and the Packers aren't a bad team.
No, especially lately.
They've really come on at the end of the season, so it's a tall task. If they just beat Green Bay this coming week, 46%.
Okay. So coin flip, a little less than that.
Yep. If you beat Green Bay but then lose to Detroit, 25%. Need a lot of help. You would need the Seahawks and the Rams, I think, to lose both games both weeks, which is highly unlikely. Actually, I wrote this down because I thought this was interesting. So the Vikings, of course, have the Packers and the Lions, week 17, week 18.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams have the Giants and the Niners, 17, 18. So the Niners game, I think, would be the one that the Vikings could hope that the Rams would lose.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Seahawks have the Steelers and the Cardinals to end the season.
Jeez.
So the Steelers have looked better.
Yeah,
but I don't know. So to get into the playoffs for sure, the Vikings need to win both of their games, and they need the Rams and the Seahawks to lose at least Rams or Seahawks to lose at least once. It's not a both and. It's just that one of them needs to lose one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the most likely scenario is San Francisco beating the Rams week 18.
Yeah.
Which would be a really nail-biter scenario for Vikings fans to be sitting there waiting to see if the Niners can pull it off. But
yeah, and even then, the Niners, they won their division, didn't they? So
yeah, they've clinched.
They're fighting for seeding, but I mean, that's about it.
True.
And they're not fighting. Are they fighting for the number one seed? I don't know enough about all that. Because that could be the thing. If the Niners need to win that last game to get the number one seed, then yeah, we're definitely interested.
I think if I can, I'm not going to speak 100% intelligently on this, but I think I'm close. I think the Rams, the Eagles, and the Lions are all still in play for that number one seed.
Wow. Okay.
I think the Cowboys, I don't think the Cowboys can get it. And I don't know who'd be the other team that would be vying for that. I don't think anybody. I think it's the Niners, the Eagles, and the Lions. I think those are the only three teams that can secure that number one seed.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it'll really come down to these last two games, and you could be right. The Niners might not have anything to play for. They might have everything to play for. So that number one seed is huge. And we mentioned it earlier, if Brock Purdy's not 100%, the number one seed in a bye could be huge.
Yeah, I think that was mostly, I don't know who's going to beat the Ravens. I think they are the team to beat this year. I think they punched their ticket into being the team to beat this year after playing last night. They just, I don't know who's going to beat them.
Well, that's the difference too between the NFC and the AFC. I believe I've really only paid attention to the NFC and how it affects the Vikings, but I think the Ravens are the only team that's clinched in the AFC, clinched a playoff spot.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think they're currently the number one, I believe. And they're the only team that has clinched. No other AFC team has clinched. All of those other 6 spots are still very much up in the air. So
interesting.
Yeah. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, somebody out there correct me. I'm willing to admit that I'm wrong. But all of that to say, the playoffs are still very much in view for the Vikings.
Yeah.
They have to win and they need a little help. It's not a lot of help. It's not like they're going to be, poking voodoo dolls of different teams and, doing all sorts of weird things to, hopefully try to squeak into that number 7 seed or whatever. They need Seattle or LA to lose one game in the last 2. And they need to win.
And they have to win both. Well, they have to have to win both.
They have to win both no matter what, I think.
Yeah. So, you could win one and get a ton of help elsewhere, but yeah, you gotta win both. And that's why this quarterback decision is so huge. And maybe with that mindset, they do go with, they know a little bit more about what they have with Mullins. They feel like they know what they have with Dobbs. They went as far as to make him all the way the emergency quarterback. So maybe that's your motivation in starting Hall, but I don't know. It feels like there is no right answer. So Yeah, got to win both. Got to figure out a way to win both. When you have all these injuries piling up, and they're going to have 2 more roster spots open because they're putting Hawkinson and Wanham on injured reserve. So maybe there's something they can do there. I don't know who's available, who can help. I don't know. It seems hopeless right now. And the Hawkinson news today made it seem even more hopeless. Yeah, hopefully we're still rooting for a playoff spot come this time next week.
I think no turnovers is huge.
It's been the story all season.
Can't turn the ball over. If you do, you lose, and we're basically done. I think the running game has to improve.
Oh, yeah. It looked so good against the Bengals.
Yeah. Yep. First 100-yard rusher of the season, I think.
Yeah.
So we got to improve there. You can't run for 17 yards and expect to win a game, even in a pass-happy league like the NFL.
Yeah.
I think you got to get the ball to JJ. I think,
which wasn't an issue.
Well,
he got his numbers.
He didn't get them until the third or fourth quarter, though.
Yeah. Well, he had that.
He was
it right at the beginning of the second half or in the second quarter, that big touchdown? Because you were texting me like they might make a quarterback change, and then boom, you're like, oh, never mind.
Just kidding. I think that was in the third quarter because I think leading up to halftime, I'm like, man, Mullins is not playing great. I think he already had 2 of his picks before halftime, and that's kind of when I started to just think like, man, KOC has to think about making a change at some point. And then all of a sudden they come out of the locker room in the third quarter and it's just Mullins throwing bullets to JJ. And so you have to get the ball to him, and he's going to be just draped in coverage wherever he goes.
Well, shoot, what was it? That late third down play, third and long, like 20-ish yards long, and he had a Buffalo-like catch.
Yes.
That catch will get forgotten, unfortunately, because it was in a loss, but it was right at the first down marker. I was almost kind of worried they wouldn't mark it as a first down, but he went up, double covered.
And he got speared.
Yeah.
Well, he got hit hard.
Well, and there was a play that he got absolutely demolished, I think a few plays later, and immediately stood right back up. And it was, who was it, Joseph? Who was it for the Lions that made the hit?
He was rattled.
And he got pulled out. And he came back in for a couple of plays, and then they stopped the game again to have him pulled out again. Like, the NFL might have some...
The eye in the sky was looking at him like, he needs to come out. Well, I think he came out, and then he tried to get on the field himself and didn't tell anybody, and then they whistled the play dead before he could get on the field because they knew he was trying to get on and wasn't cleared to get back on.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at that big demolishing hit on JJ, it was a big hit, and he's probably feeling pretty sore. But if you pay attention, you're feeling okay that he's not like concussed or broken bones. Like, it was a borderline legal hit. It was just more the defenseless receiver aspect of it. But I don't know. 5 years ago, that wouldn't have been flagged. But and JJ, I know it was probably adrenaline and wanting to make it seem like he's actually 100% okay. He got right back up. And
he popped back up and was kind of jawing at the other guy.
Oh yeah, it was
a little bit.
Yeah, you hit me hard, but I made the catch. Like, and 15 more yards. Like, but so I hope he's okay. I didn't pay attention if the injury report came out. That would have been tomorrow, the first one.
Yeah, it won't come out till tomorrow because we're recording early today.
Yeah, but haven't heard anything about him being hurt. He played the rest of the game. Was inches away from making the game tying touchdown catch that could have been the game-winning extra point. What about the Packers? Do we think the Vikings have a chance? I interrupted a thought you were about to have.
Well, I mean, I was just kind of giving my keys to the game. We talked about turnovers, better run game, getting the ball to JJ. My last one would be better blitz packages, and this was something I picked up from Ben Lieber as he kind of debriefed the game both on his personal Twitter and then in the between the lines that the Vikings media team does after every game. And he just kind of picked apart the blitz packages that Flores was sending, and it seemed like they just weren't as clever as they have been, and the Lions just had them figured out. And it took too long for the blitzes to develop. It the guys coming in from deep were coming in too early and then sitting at the line waiting for the ball to be snapped, and that gave away the blitz or whatever else. I don't understand defense as well, so I can't really pretend to know what I'm talking about there. But like what Ben Lieber said seemed to make sense, and when I look back and watch the game, it's like, well, yeah, it did seem like Jared Goff and the Lions knew when those blitzes were coming, and they knew how to adapt, and they knew how to do, a little screen play or a little dink and dunk over the middle, or, take the shot downfield when they knew everybody was coming off the line and they had single coverage down the field on St. Brown or whoever, so I think the defense has to improve. And we said it early on in the episode too. The defense didn't look amazing. It didn't look like the shutout defense against the Raiders that we saw a few weeks ago. Yep. It didn't even look like the defense against the Bengals, really. Like I felt like they maybe played a better game against Cincinnati than they played against Detroit. So I think
meltdown.
There are some things. It was really only the fourth quarter or the third quarter. Was it the third quarter they gave up? It was
like midway through the third quarter it started melting down against the Bengals.
Yeah. So anyways, it's just been a bad stretch for the Vikings defense. I think they need to iron some of those things out. And if they can do that, the Packers aren't a perennial powerhouse. They've proven that. Jordan Love has started to figure some things out, but he's still a young quarterback who's had to sit behind Aaron Rodgers for how many years now. I think the defense, that's going to be the key. If you're going to win this game against the Packers, you're going to need to make Jordan Love's day miserable, which here's an interesting wrinkle for us. We play each other in fantasy.
I've given up on fantasy this year.
Well, we're playing for fifth place, so here's to that.
If it's not first, you're last.
We're in the consolation bracket. I'm just playing for as high of a spot as I can get, but Jordan Love's my starting quarterback. So.
Hey guys, next episode, it's just going to be me talking. Evan can no longer be a part of the Skol Hop if he starts a freaking Packer at his quarterback position. And it's not even Aaron Rodgers.
I had Sam Howell.
Go with Howell. I'd go with Howell.
He got hurt.
Go with...
And then there was a bye week in there.
You could probably pick up Jaron Hall.
I'll pick up whoever the Vikings are starting. Yeah. No,
I'm sure they're all available.
Here's what I'll say on that front. I would be more than happy to take sixth place if it means that Jordan Love has a miserable game on Sunday.
I can't believe I think I have in that league two pretty decent quarterbacks. I will trade you one just so that you can.
All right. Let's make that happen. And we'll screenshot it and we'll put it out there.
Hey, and I'm the commissioner, so there is no whining at that. So
you can push the deal through under the table.
Yeah. There was one point in this season, I think in our league, it had to have been because that's the only one I'm the commissioner of. Somebody who is a diehard, what is he? Dolphins fan. I have Tua on my roster, and they were playing, I think, Mahomes. Like the Dolphins in real life were playing against the Chiefs, and his quarterback was Mahomes. And he was saying, like, I'm a Dolphins fan. I can't, in good faith, in fantasy, start Mahomes. Would anybody want to trade me for 1 week, a quarterback, so that I don't have to have that on my conscience? And I was like, you know what? Fine. He reached out. He's like, hey, Tua for Mahomes for 1 week, and then trade back after that week. I was like, I can respect being a diehard fan like that. So I did it, and I needed a little bit of my commissioner powers to push it through. But yeah, for 1 week, I traded away Tua and got Mahomes. I didn't even start Mahomes. I don't remember if I won that week or if he won that week. But after the games, we swapped right back. So yeah, some people would be mad about that. And if it were a money league, I would have never done that because that just seems shady. But this is just a fun league.
Like you said, it's just for fun.
Yeah, so I can't believe you're starting. You had Aaron Jones on your roster all season, you traitor.
He's been hurt most of the season.
Yeah, good. I don't want anybody to actually get injured, but darn it, you can't have a Packer on your roster.
It's fantasy. I mean, all of that was ruined for me when Brett Favre became a Viking. Like, before that, there was this glass ceiling that had never been shattered of like, Brett Favre is the worst human being on the face of the planet. I hate his guts. I never want to see him again. And then all of a sudden, he becomes a Viking and he wins a few games and then he leads you to the NFC Championship and you're like, I love that guy.
That we've talked about kind of recording some episodes and having them in the can for off-season weeks where we don't have games to talk about. We could just put out one of the pre-recorded episodes. Maybe that whole 2009 season could be a good talker.
Well, that was fun for us because we were in college together that year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
living in the same dorm. Like, we watched a lot of games together.
Watched that infamous NFC Championship game,
the Bounty Gate game.
Yeah, and that was the one year I subscribed. iTunes did like this whole fan pass thing where you could pay. It was like $20 at the beginning of the season, and it collected after every game. It collected like 5 minutes of highlights from the game, and then a couple of highlights of press conferences for after the game, and then it pushed it out, that night after the game or the next morning. So it was like, hey, if you missed anything or if you want to keep following along, and I think it was on my iTunes from 2009, and I still have that. That could be something we could like watch and then record a recap episode really of fun. 2009.
I'd be interested in that. Yeah. I didn't know you had that. Yeah. That's cool. I didn't even know that was
fun
a thing.
To watch. Yeah, I'll find it and I'll send, if I can, I'll send you some stuff.
That would be fun. Yeah. Well, we should probably wrap this up because these are getting pretty low.
Yeah.
And we've been talking for a while.
Yeah. Hopefully people have been listening.
Yeah.
And we haven't said anything to make people encouraged for the rest of the season, but maybe we kind of took the sting out of that loss.
There's still a shred of hope.
There is.
Glimmer of hope.
And I want them to win. I'm never going to be lose for a draft pick guy. I'm intrigued by the idea, but I want to watch my team win. Like, even in the preseason, I want to watch my team win. So we got 2 more chances at least. Let's make that happen. My kids want ice cream. They haven't had victory ice cream for weeks now.
Give the kids the ice cream they deserve. I'm not going to cave. Come on.
I'm not going to cave and give them ice cream. Maybe in the off season.
All right. Well, if you're not already, we would love it if you'd like and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts or on social media. We're pretty much everywhere you can be found.
Yep.
Spotify and YouTube are kind of our primary spots, so you can find us there. But of course, there's a million different places you can listen to podcasts, so find us wherever you like to listen to your podcasts.
We've got a giveaway. Do you want to recap that a little bit?
Yep. So Austin opened up his gift, and we've got an extra shirt here. I intentionally ordered 3 shirts, one for each of us, and then one for a lucky fan out there. So if you're interested in a shirt, reach out to us. Send us a message on any platform and let us know. And even if the shirt that we have isn't the right size, we'll get you the right size shirt. And we'd love to send it to you. And thank you for supporting us and supporting the Skol Hop.
Should we put a time limit on that?
Let's just say before the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, I'm good with that. So before kickoff of the Super Bowl, send us a message and let us know too, like, hey, whatever you're going to say in your message, but also be sure to say like some version of I want to submit my name in for the shirt. Some
just let us know you want a shirt.
Yeah. And we'll keep tallies, and right at the Super Bowl we'll figure out who wins that, and then we'll contact you from there. But yeah. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, this was fun. It was fun to exchange some gifts and drink some good beer and talk about the Vikings, even though It's been hard to be a Vikings fan the last couple of weeks.
This has always been good therapy for me. Even before we started with the podcast and the microphones and recording everything, just hashing things out about the Vikings with you has been good therapy for this fan that cares way too much.
Well, and hopefully it's the same for all of our many listeners out there as well.
Yeah. All right, man. Till next time.
Skol.
Skol.
Hey Vikings fans, Evan here from the Skol Hop, and we just wanted to say thank you again so much for listening to the Skol Hop, and we also wanted to take one more opportunity to let you know that this episode of the Skol Hop has been brought to you by Big Top Ventures. If you're considering taking an all-inclusive trip to either Mexico or Jamaica, reach out to our friends at Big Top Ventures at bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. Once again, that's bigtopventuresllc@gmail.com. You can get the lowest rate possible on several all-inclusive resorts throughout the region. Big Top Ventures. Step right up to your next big adventure. And thanks again for listening to the Skol Hop. Skol.